Settle into your breath now. Let it find its own rhythm, slow and steady, like waves lapping against a quiet shore. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And picture time. Not the time you know, the sharp tick of a clock, the rush of a deadline, but something softer, something that doesn't march forward so much as it drifts. Physics has a strange tale to tell about this. It says time isn't what it seems. It's not a line, not a river carrying you from one moment to the next. No, it's something else entirely. Imagine a vast canvas stretching out in every direction. A painting where every stroke, every memory you hold, every hope you carry is already there, laid out in stillness. Albert Einstein, with his gentle curiosity, peered into this idea. He found that time bends. It stretches when you move faster, like a rubber band pulled taut by the speed of a rocket hurtling through space. It slows when gravity tugs harder, as if the Earth itself could cradle a second and make it linger. Breathe in. Let that settle into your mind. Time isn't solid. It's not the steady thread you weave your days with. It's more like a mist, a whisper. Think about that for a moment as your shoulders soften, as the tension in your jaw melts away. What if the past isn't behind you, and the future isn't ahead? What if they're all here, layered together in a single, quiet expanse? Some call this the relativity of space-time, a beautiful, mind-bending truth. A second on a mountaintop ticks just a little faster than one in a valley. A clock on a satellite drifts out of sync with the one on your wall. Time isn't universal. It's personal. It molds itself to where you stand, to how you move. Let your thoughts wander now. There's no rush, no need to grasp it all at once. Imagine yourself floating in that vast painting. The morning you woke up to birdsong, the night you stared at the stars, the quiet afternoon you'll spend someday. They're all there, side by side, not lost or waiting, but simply present. It's a strange comfort, isn't it? That nothing is truly gone, that nothing is hurrying toward you. Physics strips away the illusion of time's arrow and leaves us with something gentler, a stillness you can rest in. Breathe out, long and slow. Feel your body sink a little deeper into wherever you are, your bed, your chair, the earth beneath you. Time might not be what you think it is. It might not even be real in the way you feel it passing. What if it's just a story we tell ourselves? A way to make sense of the shifting shadows on this endless canvas? Let that idea drift with you now. Let it carry you toward sleep. There's no hurry here. Time, as you know it, is softening, fading, and you're slipping into its quiet embrace. Lie back now. Let your head rest fully, your neck relax, your hands fall gently wherever they land. Picture the night sky above you, a deep, endless black, speckled with stars that glow like tiny promises. Take a slow breath in, and imagine those stars. Each one a pinpoint of light, burning steady and sure. Now ask yourself, what if everything they'll ever do, every flicker, every fade, every silent collapse into darkness, is already decided, not by some grand will, not by fate, but by the shape of the universe itself. Some physicists, with their calm and careful minds, have wondered this aloud. They call it the block universe, and it's a thought that can cradle you as you drift. Imagine a sculpture, not one carved from stone, but one made of everything. A vast, four-dimensional shape where time doesn't flow. It simply is. The moment you first laughed as a child, the day you stood in awe of a storm, the quiet evening you'll spend years from now. They're all there, etched into this cosmic form, complete from the very beginning. Breathe out. Let that idea settle over you like a soft blanket. It's not about losing control. It's not about destiny in the way stories tell it. It's about geometry, about a universe that holds every possibility in one unbroken whole. Feel your chest rise and fall, slow and even. Let your mind linger on that image, the block universe. Einstein's equations hint at it, you know. They show that time isn't separate from space. They're woven together, a single fabric called space-time. And in this fabric, there's no real before or after, not in the way you feel them. The past isn't a memory fading behind you. The future isn't a mystery rushing to meet you. They're just coordinates, points on a map that's already drawn. Your breath is a part of that map now. In this moment, as you listen, as you soften, think of a book for a moment. A thick, beautiful book with every page written, every chapter complete. You might be reading page 42 tonight, savoring the words, but page 87 is already there. Waiting, not unwritten, not uncertain. The block universe is like that book. Every choice you'll make, the coffee you'll drink tomorrow, the smile you'll share, the dream you'll chase, it's already printed in the stillness of space-time. Not rigid, not cold, just there, like a melody you haven't heard yet, but that's already been played. Let your thoughts stretch out now. No need to hold them tight. Imagine looking down on that sculpture from some impossible height. You'd see it all at once. The arc of your life, the paths of everyone you've ever known, the dance of planets and stars. It's a humbling thought, and a peaceful one. Nothing is lost in this view. Nothing is racing away. The future isn't a question mark. It's a quiet certainty, holding you even now as you lie here. Breathe in, deeply, slowly. Feel the air move through you, connecting you to that vast shape. Some say this idea takes away freedom, but others, they find it soothing. That every step you take, every stumble, every triumph, it's all part of something finished, something whole. You're not writing the story so much as tracing it, living it, moment by gentle moment. Let your eyelids grow heavy now. Let the weight of that thought rest with you. The future might already be written, not as a cage but as a gift, a map you're walking through, step by quiet step. Rest now. The stars above you know the way, and you're drifting closer to their light. Find a comfortable place now. Let your body settle, your legs relax, your arms grow heavy. Take a slow breath in, and imagine yourself, not as you see in the mirror, but as physics sees you. Beneath your skin, beyond the cells and the atoms, there's something strange, something vast. You're not solid, not in the way you feel. You're made of empty space and whispers of chance. Let that sink in as your shoulders soften, as the world quiets around you. Picture an atom, a tiny nucleus, buzzing with energy, surrounded by electrons that dance in clouds. Between them, nothing, emptiness. Most of what you are, your hands, your heart, your breath, is just that, space. If you shrank yourself down to the size of an atom, you'd find a universe of gaps, a vastness where matter barely lingers. Breathe out, long and slow. Scientists say that if you squeezed out all that empty space, all of humanity could fit into a sugar cube. That's how little of us is truly there. But it gets stranger still. Those electrons, those bits of you, they don't sit still. They're not little dots, fixed and certain. They're probabilities, possibilities smeared across space, only settling when something watches them. Quantum mechanics tells us this, a world where certainty dissolves, where you're a symphony of maybe. Feel your chest rise and fall. Let that idea drift through you. You're not just empty space. You're a pattern of chances, a delicate web of could-bes woven into being. Imagine standing in that emptiness now, a quiet, endless field where the pieces of you flicker in and out of focus. It's not chaos, it's beautiful. Your thoughts, your dreams, the warmth of your skin, they all rise from this dance of nothing, and maybe. There's a stillness in that, a peace. You don't need to hold yourself together so tightly. You're already held by the laws of the universe, by the strange magic of the very small. Breathe in again, deeply, gently. Let your mind wander through that inner vastness. What does it mean to be mostly nothing? To be a shadow of likelihoods? It's humbling and freeing. You're not a solid thing, separate from the world. You're a part of it. Open, airy, connected. Rest now. Let the emptiness cradle you. You're made of space and probability, and that's enough to carry you into dreams. Lie down now. Let your head sink into the pillow, your body melt into the surface beneath you. Breathe slowly, in and out, and picture a moment. Maybe it's a choice you made today, a step you took, a word you spoke. You think it led to this, don't you? One thing causing the next, a chain stretching back through your life. But physics, it has a question for you. What if causality, the idea that this happens because of that, isn't as real as it seems? Let that thought settle as your breath deepens, as the night wraps around you. In the world of space-time, things get slippery. Einstein showed us that time and space aren't separate. They're one, a single fabric. And in that fabric, events don't march in a neat line. They just are. Past, present, future, they sit together, like notes in a chord. Cause and effect? That might just be how your mind makes sense of it. A story you tell yourself. Breathe out. Feel the tension slip away. What if the rain didn't make the ground wet? What if they're just two parts of the same moment tangled together? Quantum mechanics muddies it further. Down in the smallest scales, particles don't follow rules you'd recognize. An electron might pop into place here because something happened there, or maybe it's the other way around. Some say time could flow backward in those tiny realms, that effects might reach back to nudge their causes. Imagine that now. A world where the end writes the beginning. Your breath is slowing, your thoughts softening. It's not confusion, it's a kind of freedom. Picture a river for a moment. Not flowing, but still. Every ripple, every wave, frozen in place. That's how some physicists see the universe. No arrows, no because. Just a pattern. Whole and complete. You're in that pattern. Every step you've taken, every step you will. Not driven forward, but simply existing. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Let your mind drift along that still river. Causality might be an illusion, a gentle trick of perception. And if it is, then everything you've ever done is just here, with you now. Rest in that thought. Let it carry you. There's no need to chase the why or the how. The universe doesn't demand it. You're part of its quiet dance, and that's enough. Sleep is close now, causality fading. Just breathe and let it go. Get comfortable now. Adjust your position. Let your body find its natural ease. Take a deep breath and imagine your hand resting on something. Your blanket, the arm of a chair, the cool floor. It feels real, doesn't it? The texture, the weight. But physics has a secret to share. A strange, quiet truth. You've never truly touched anything. Not once. Let that sink in as your breath slows, as your mind begins to wander. Zoom in, way in, to where atoms meet. Your skin is made of them. Tiny nuclei with electrons swirling around. So is everything else. The fabric, the wood, the air. When you press your hand down, those electrons don't crash together. They push back. A force, not a meeting. It's repulsion, not contact. The space between them never closes. It's infinitesimally small, but it's there. Breathe out. Feel that idea settle. You're always floating, just a whisper away from the world. Think about that as your body relaxes, as your legs grow still. Every handshake, every hug, every step on the ground, it's all an illusion of touch. Electrons repelling electrons, a dance of invisible barriers. You're close, so close, but never quite there. It's a lonely thought, maybe, or a beautiful one. You're part of everything, yet apart from it, held in this delicate balance. Imagine a bubble now. Soft, shimmering, hovering just above the surface of a lake. That's you, your atoms, your essence, always near, never merging. The universe keeps you separate, even as it binds you to itself. Let your thoughts drift with that image. Let it soothe you. You've never touched anything, and yet you feel so much. That's the magic of it. The sensation, the warmth, the connection, all born from a gap you'll never cross. Breathe in, long and slow. Feel the air move through you, another thing you'll never truly touch. It's all forces, fields, energies playing together. Rest now. Let that distance comfort you. You're not isolated. You're held by the same laws that hold the stars. You've never touched anything, and maybe that's why you can feel so deeply. Let sleep creep in. The world is close, but not too close. And you're drifting now. Settle in now. Let your head rest, your shoulders drop, your breath find its quiet pace. Imagine a tiny particle, smaller than a speck of dust, smaller than light itself, a piece of the universe, floating in the dark. Does it exist when no one's looking? Physics, quantum physics, says maybe not. Let that thought hover as you soften, as the room fades around you. In the strange world of the very small, things don't behave like you'd expect. An electron, a photon, they're not fixed points, not little marbles rolling around. They're waves, possibilities, until something watches them. A measurement, an observation. It's like a spotlight snapping them into place. Before that, they're just a blur of maybe. Breathe out, long and slow. Particles only exist when observed. What does that mean for the world? For you, picture a quiet forest. Trees swaying, leaves rustling, unseen. Are they there when no eyes fall on them? Quantum mechanics whispers, maybe not quite, not fully. Reality waits for attention to sharpen it. It's a mind-bending idea that the act of looking, of knowing, brings things into being. Your chest rises and falls. Your thoughts drift. You're made of these particles too, trillions of them, flickering in and out of focus. Some say it's the observer that matters. Your mind, your awareness, collapsing the wave into something real. Others think it's just interaction, any nudge from the universe. Either way, it's a dance, a delicate interplay. Imagine that now, a cosmos holding its breath, waiting for a glance. You're part of that dance, part of the watching, the waking. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Let your mind soften into that mystery. Breathe in, deeply, gently. What's real when you're not looking? The stars outside your window, the air in your lungs. Do they blur into possibility when you turn away? It's not a question to solve tonight, just one to rest in. Particles only exist when observed, and you're observing less and less now. The world is slipping into quiet, into dreams, and you're following it there. Lie back now. Let your body sink, your breath deepen, your thoughts slow. Picture the universe, vast, endless, a tapestry of galaxies and voids, stars being born, stars fading away, and you, a tiny spark in all that immensity. Here's a thought to drift with. The universe doesn't need you to be real. It hums along, indifferent, complete. Let that settle as your shoulders relax, as the night holds you. Physics paints a picture of a cosmos that doesn't care. The laws, gravity pulling planets, light bending through space, particles colliding, they don't pause for you. They don't ask for your permission. The universe isn't watching. It isn't waiting. It's just there. Breathe out. Feel the weight of that. You're not the center. You're not even a footnote. And yet, here you are, breathing, thinking, dreaming. Imagine a machine, gears turning, wheels spinning, endless and automatic. That's how some see it, a system so vast, so self-contained, that your presence is a flicker, a passing note. The equations don't need your name, the stars don't need your eyes. And yet, they let you see them. They let you wonder. Let your mind wander now, through that endless machine. It's not cruel, it's neutral, serene. Feel your body growing heavier, your legs still, your arms at rest. The universe doesn't need you, but it allows you. It gives you this moment, the softness of your breath, the quiet of your thoughts. That's not nothing. It's a gift, unasked for, unrequired. You're here anyway, a visitor in a place that doesn't notice. Let that comfort you as sleep nears. You don't have to matter to be here. Breathe in, slow and full. The universe keeps going. Planets spin, light travels, time stretches. With or without you, it's the same. Rest in that now. Let the indifference wash over you like a tide. It's not personal. It's just true. The universe doesn't need you to be real. And yet, you are. That's enough for tonight. Enough to carry you into dreams. Get cozy now. Let your head settle, your body unwind, your breath find its gentle flow. Imagine time, not as a stream, not as a journey, but as something solid, a block, a vast, four-dimensional shape where everything, every second, every heartbeat is locked in place. You're trapped in it, or maybe held by it. Let that thought drift as your mind quiets, as the world softens around you. This is the block universe again. Space-time, whole and still. Height, width, depth, and time, the fourth dimension, stretching out like a crystal. Your birth, your now, your last breath, they're all there, carved into this frozen expanse. No moving forward, no looking back, just being. Breathe out, long and slow. You're not traveling through time. You're a thread in its fabric, woven tight. Picture it now, a sculpture of everything. Your first step as a child, the laugh you shared yesterday, the dream you'll have tonight, they're not gone or coming. They're fixed, eternal in their own way. Einstein's relativity brought us here. No moment is more real than another. They all sit together, side by side. Feel your chest rise and fall. Feel yourself in that block. You're not lost in it. You're part of it. It's a strange comfort, isn't it? Nothing slips away. Nothing rushes toward you. You're trapped, yes, but trapped in a kind of peace. Every tear, every smile preserved forever in this quiet geometry. Let your thoughts wander through it. No need to fight or flee. Time isn't slipping through your fingers, it's holding them steady and sure. Breathe in, deeply, softly. Imagine looking at that block from outside. If you could, you'd see it all at once. Your life, the lives of everyone, the arc of the stars. No beginning, no end. Just a shape. Rest now. Let that shape cradle you. You're trapped in a 4D block of frozen time, but it's not a cage. It's a home, a stillness you can sink into. Sleep is close, time is still, and you're drifting there. Lie down now. Let your body relax, your breath deepen, your mind ease. Think of a choice you made today. Something simple maybe. Tea instead of coffee, a walk instead of staying in. Now imagine the other path, the one you didn't take. What if it's not gone? What if every decision you didn't make still exists? Somewhere. Let that settle as your shoulders soften, as the night draws near. This is the many worlds idea, a whisper from quantum mechanics. Every time a particle could go left or right, up or down, the universe splits. Two realities bloom, one where it went left, one where it went right. And you're part of that splitting. Every what if, every maybe, they don't vanish. They live on in other worlds, other yous. Breathe out. Feel that possibility stretch out around you. Picture it now, a tree with endless branches. You chose this one, lying here, listening, breathing, but the others didn't wither. Somewhere, you're sipping coffee instead of tea. Somewhere, you're still walking under the stars. They're as real as this moment. just elsewhere. Your chest rises and falls. Your thoughts drift. You're not just one story. You're a chorus, echoing across a multiverse. It's a wild thought, and a gentle one. Nothing's lost. The love you didn't chase, the chance you didn't take, they're not failures. They're alive, playing out in some quiet corner of existence. Let your mind wander those branches now. No need to choose again. You've already chosen everything, in a way. Every decision you didn't make still exists somewhere, and that's a kind of freedom. Breathe in, slow and full. Feel the weight of all those worlds. Not heavy, but soft, like a blanket of possibilities. You're here, and you're there, and it's all okay. Rest now. Let the branches sway in your dreams. You're more than this moment, more than this choice, and sleep is calling you across them all. Settle in now. Let your head rest, your body unwind, your breath slow. Imagine the world around you, the walls, the sky, the hum of life. It feels real, doesn't it? Solid, certain. But what if it's not? What if reality is a mathematical ghost? A shadow cast by numbers and equations? Let that thought drift as your mind quiets, as the night wraps around you. Some physicists wonder this. People like Max Tegmark, with his calm, curious mind. He says the universe might not be made of stuff, atoms, energy, light, but of math. Pure, abstract patterns that somehow weave into everything you see and feel. The chair you're on, the air you breathe, just numbers playing out their rules. Breathe out, let that sink in. Reality, a ghost of geometry and logic. Picture it now, a vast web of equations shimmering in the dark. No substance, no weight, just relationships, shapes, ideas. Your heartbeat? A rhythm in the math. The stars? Points on a cosmic graph. It's strange and beautiful. You're not separate from it. You're part of the calculation, a melody in the code. Feel your body growing heavier, your thoughts softening. Reality might not need matter, just structure. Think about that as sleep nears. If it's true, then everything, the chaos, the beauty, the quiet, it's all inevitable. A dance of numbers that couldn't be any other way. Let your mind wander through that web. No need to hold it tight. It's not cold, it's elegant, eternal. You're a mathematical ghost, too, a pattern dreaming itself. Breathe in, deeply, gently. Feel the world dissolve a little, not into nothing, but into something purer. Rest now. Let the equations carry you. Reality may be a mathematical ghost, and that's enough to hold you as you drift into sleep. What if the person you think you are never actually existed? We tend to believe that who we are is a product of where we've been. That memory is a kind of mirror, maybe a foggy one, but still reflecting something real, something that happened. We look backward to understand ourselves. We recall triumphs, losses, firsts, lasts, moments of meaning. And we assume that what we're seeing is true. Distorted, maybe, but true. But it isn't. Your memories are reconstructions, not records. This isn't a poetic statement. It's a clinical one. Every time you recall a moment, any moment, your brain destabilizes that memory and rebuilds it. Not from raw footage, but from emotion, language, context, imagination, expectation. You think you're retrieving something that was stored. You're not. You're creating something new every time. This process is called reconsolidation. The memory reactivates, shifts, and is saved again, modified. So what you're remembering might not be what happened. It's what makes sense now. And what makes sense now is not neutral. Memory serves survival, not truth. Your brain is not trying to give you an accurate autobiography. It's trying to help you live with yourself. It smooths over the unbearable. It exaggerates what hurt you. It inserts details that complete emotional arcs. It deletes what doesn't align with who you think you are. When you think of the worst thing you ever did, is that how it really happened? When you remember someone who hurt you, are you remembering what they did or how it felt? Memory is not loyal to reality. It is loyal to narrative, to identity, to coherence. And if your memory can change, who exactly are you? If the past is always shifting inside you, remixed with every reflection, then your identity is not a chain of events. It's a set of rehearsed stories. You aren't remembering your life, you're performing it. But here's the deeper problem. Memory isn't just unstable, it's susceptible. In 1995, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus conducted a now famous study where subjects were told about a fictional event, getting lost in a shopping mall as a child. A week later, many vividly remembered it happening. They described how they felt, who helped them, what it smelled like. They remembered what never was. Your brain doesn't just rewrite memory. It can fabricate it from scratch and wrap it in emotional certainty. So, if someone else can plant a memory in your mind, what stops you from doing it to yourself? What if the life you remember is not the life you lived? You remember your childhood, but most of it is fragments, sensory traces, a few photographs, stories told by others, absorbed until they feel like yours. You say, "I remember my 5th birthday," but do you? Or do you remember a picture of it? A family anecdote repeated so many times it became fact. You say, "I remember what she said when she left," but language decays. Intonation twists. Faces blur. Details evolve. You may be haunted by a version of a goodbye that never happened, crafted by emotion, not precision. What if the people you hate didn't really do what you remember? What if the people you love weren't really who you believed? What if the things you blame yourself for were never your fault? Physics offers no comfort. In Newtonian physics, time moves forward, predictably, like a film reel unwinding. But in Einstein's universe, time is not linear. It's a dimension, no different than space. The future and the past are just coordinates, equally real, equally permanent. The universe doesn't move from past to present to future. It contains all of them. You feel time because of entropy, because disorder increases. But the passage of time? That's perception. That's biology. Einstein once wrote, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. If all moments exist equally, then the past isn't gone. It hasn't slipped behind you. It still is, somewhere, frozen, untouchable, indifferent to what you remember, which means your version of the past is not even relevant to the universe itself. It exists only in your mind. If the physical world holds no privileged now, then what makes your memory special? If every moment still exists somewhere in the fabric of space-time, what happens to your carefully rewritten versions? Do they ever matter? If the universe remembers everything, and you remember almost nothing, who's the unreliable one? There's a chilling irony here. The cosmos may contain the full ledger of time, every particle's position, every cause and consequence. But you, a conscious observer, can't even recall a conversation from last week without reshaping it. You are the flawed narrator, the selective editor, the ghostwriter of your own history. So how much trust should you place in the person you believe yourself to be? Philosopher John Locke defined identity as continuity of consciousness. You are the same person because you remember being that person. But if memory is fluid, so is identity. You may believe you're the same person you were 10 years ago. You're not. You don't think the same. You don't feel the same. Your personality, your fears, your desires, your inner monologue, they've all shifted. And the memories you cling to, the ones that prove you are you, those have shifted too. You are the echo of stories written by someone you used to be, retold by someone you no longer are. Your past is a fiction that feels like fact. But the most dangerous part is this. You act on your memories. You make decisions based on them. You hold grudges. You end relationships. You sacrifice opportunities. You carry shame, guilt, anger, and you justify it by saying, because of what happened. But what actually happened? And what did you reconstruct later, under pressure from emotion, ego, or time? What if the anger you've carried was based on a misremembered detail? What if the forgiveness you gave was based on a memory you softened too much? What if your whole personality is a defense mechanism against things that never truly occurred the way you believe? How do you live in a world where your own mind lies to you? Maybe you already do. Maybe we all do. We tell ourselves that memories are sacred, because without them, we fear collapse. But maybe collapse is the truth. Maybe the self isn't a solid thing, just a series of shifting shadows projected onto the cave wall of consciousness. You don't remember your life. You assemble it, day by day, emotion by emotion, justified by need, molded by trauma. That betrayal you never got over? You've remembered it so many times that it no longer belongs to the moment it happened. It belongs to the version you created, the one that fits into the larger story of who you are and what you deserve. That one perfect memory of feeling loved? That may be an invention. A photograph you stared at too long. A dream that slowly leaked into your waking life. A whisper you told yourself on nights when you needed warmth. And still, you believe. You must. Because without memory, what are you? If you cannot rely on the past, how do you make sense of the present? If your memories are corruptible, flexible, manipulable, then how do you trust your own emotions? You feel loss because you remember what you had. You feel shame because you remember what you did. You feel love because you remember how it felt. But if those memories are imprecise, then those emotions are built on guesses. You are feeling deeply about things that may have never happened the way you think. There is no solution, only awareness. You cannot fix memory. You cannot make it perfect, but you can learn to doubt, to question the stories you've told yourself, to reevaluate the conclusions you've drawn. You can soften your certainty, and that is no small thing, because sometimes the only way to free yourself is to realize that the cage was built by memory, and memory, like time, is not what it seems. It is a mirror with no surface, a photograph that paints itself, a fiction that pretends to be fact, a map that redraws itself based on where you wish you had been. You are not who you remember being. You are who you believe you remember being, and that changes everything. What if everything around you, everything you see, feel, and experience wasn't real? What if it was all a simulation? When we look up at the night sky, we see the stars. They seem eternal, distant, and unchanging. We see the earth beneath our feet, solid and dependable. We experience the world as if it's made of something tangible, something concrete. But what if it's all an illusion? What if this universe, the one we've come to understand, is nothing more than a simulation? A vast, intricate computer program designed to mimic the real world? This idea may sound like science fiction, but in recent years it has become a serious topic of philosophical and scientific inquiry. The simulation hypothesis proposes that our reality might not be the one true reality, but rather a synthetic one. According to this theory, everything you experience, the chair you're sitting on, the words I'm speaking, the pain in your chest when you're anxious, could be nothing more than data processed by a highly advanced civilization. It's an unsettling thought, and yet it's a thought that we cannot easily shake. But if this is true, what does it mean for you? For your life? Your sense of self? The universe as we know it could just be a highly sophisticated illusion. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed a now famous argument that has kept many awake at night. He argued that one of three things must be true: Human civilization will never reach a level of technological advancement where we could create realistic simulations of entire worlds. Advanced civilizations will not be interested in creating such simulations. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. This is not just some idle speculation. Bostrom's argument is grounded in probability and reason. Think about it. If a civilization eventually becomes technologically capable of creating realistic simulations so advanced that the beings within them cannot distinguish the virtual world from reality, then it's likely that they would create many such simulations. These simulations would be indistinguishable from reality to their inhabitants. The probability that you are living in one of them, Bostrom suggests, is incredibly high. If this world is a simulation, who or what are you really? The very idea that our reality could be a simulation raises some unsettling questions about the nature of existence. If our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are all being generated by an advanced system, then what does it mean to be real? Are you real? Is your identity, your mind, your soul, are they just lines of code executing in some higher-level matrix? If your experiences, your memories, and your very sense of self can be simulated, then who are you truly? Are you merely the result of programming? Or do you retain some kind of essence beyond the digital facade? Renowned physicist David Deutsch, in his book The Fabric of Reality, posits that the very notion of reality is far more complicated than we realize. He argues that what we perceive as reality might just be one of many possible simulations, a model of existence created by our minds. In essence, the universe might be a form of multiversal simulation, where countless realities exist simultaneously, each with its own set of rules and laws. And if this simulation is so sophisticated, so intricate, that we cannot distinguish it from reality, does it even matter whether we are part of a simulation? If the experience of life feels real, does the origin of that experience even matter? What if we are not the creators of our own reality? This brings us to another question. If this world is a simulation, who created it? Who or what built the system in which we live? And if we are living in a simulated reality, can we even trust our own perceptions of the world around us? For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with questions about the nature of reality. René Descartes, in the 17th century, famously asked, "How do I know that I am not dreaming right now?" He realized that he could not trust his senses to give him an accurate picture of the world. His conclusion: the only thing he could be certain of was that he was thinking. I think, therefore I am. But even Descartes' philosophy seems naive in the face of modern simulation theory. If the world you experience is a program running in a highly sophisticated system, then your senses could be entirely manipulated. In a simulation, there would be no distinction between what is real and what is programmed. They would both be equally real to you. Your experiences would be indistinguishable from those of someone living in a real world. This leads to an even darker possibility. What if you are not the creator of your own reality? What if every decision, every choice, every action you take is being controlled by an unseen force, an entity with more power than you can even comprehend? What if your thoughts are not truly your own? The boundaries between real and virtual are thinner than we think. In the simulation hypothesis, the line between the virtual and the real becomes blurred. As technology advances, we are already beginning to see the boundaries between these two realms grow thinner. Virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR, are already immersive experiences that simulate physical environments. They are not yet perfect, but they are getting closer to convincing us that we are in a different world. Imagine a world where VR becomes so advanced that we cannot tell the difference between the simulated and the real, where a VR simulation could trick your senses into believing that you are truly experiencing another reality. In that world, you would live as if your experiences were real, even if they were not. But this isn't science fiction anymore. Think of how we experience the world through digital media. through social media platforms, video games, and online worlds. They are all simulations, designed to keep us engaged, to make us feel something, even though we know they are artificial. And if we can become so immersed in these virtual worlds, how can we be sure that the real world we're experiencing right now is any different? Does the origin of your reality change your responsibility in it? This is where the philosophy of free will comes into play. If our reality is a simulation, does that mean we are mere pawns in someone else's game? Does it mean that our choices are not truly our own? Or is it possible that even in a simulation, we still possess some measure of agency? Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, argued that humans are condemned to be free. We are forced to choose, to define ourselves through our actions, even in a world that might feel deterministic. If our reality is a simulation, we would still be acting within it, responding to the choices presented to us, and in that sense we would still be responsible for how we react, even if we do not fully understand the forces behind the simulation. However, this responsibility is complicated by the knowledge that the world we experience might not be the true world. If this simulation is the work of an unknown entity or civilization, how do we reconcile our autonomy with the fact that our environment is being controlled? Do we live within the rules of the simulation, or do we attempt to break free? And if we are part of a simulation, does it even matter? This is where the discomfort of the simulation hypothesis really strikes. If we are living in a simulation, does it invalidate the value of our experiences? Does it make our pain, our joy, our love, our suffering less real? In a sense, the meaning of life is not derived from the external truth of the universe, but from our subjective experience of it. Whether the world around us is real or simulated, the emotions we feel, the relationships we form, the choices we make, these things still matter to us. They still shape our lives. They still define our sense of self. In the end, the simulation hypothesis forces us to confront a deeper truth. Our reality may not be the one we think it is, but that does not diminish our responsibility to live in it as if it is the only one we have. And perhaps that's the most unsettling truth of all. Whether we are in a simulation or not, we are here. And being here means we must navigate the complexity of existence with the awareness that reality, whatever it may be, requires us to create meaning, find purpose, and live as though our experiences are real. Because in the end, whether the universe is a simulation or not, the only life you have is the one you're living right now. What if the reality you think you know isn't the reality at all? You wake up every day in a world that feels concrete, tangible, real. You can touch things, smell things, feel the wind on your face, and hear the sounds around you. Everything feels familiar, like the world has always been here, just as you've always known it. But what if everything you see, feel, and know is not the full picture? There is a deep, unsettling truth that no one really talks about. The human mind is fundamentally ill-equipped to truly comprehend the nature of reality. It might be the one question that's been asked for centuries. What is reality? At first glance, reality seems simple. But as soon as you scratch beneath the surface, you find a truth that is anything but simple. Philosophers, scientists, and mystics alike have grappled with the limits of human understanding, and most of them have concluded the same thing. Our minds cannot fully grasp what is real. You cannot trust your senses to reveal the true nature of existence. Let's start with what we can experience: the physical world. The very concept of physical reality is built upon our senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. These are the tools through which we perceive the universe. But are they reliable? Immanuel Kant, one of the most important philosophers of the Enlightenment, argued that our perception of the world is not a direct reflection of the world itself. He claimed that the world we experience is shaped by our mind, structured by the categories we impose upon it. What this means is that we are never experiencing reality as it truly is. Instead, we are experiencing a filtered version of it, one that our minds have constructed based on our senses. In other words, you may think you're seeing the world as it is, but all you're really seeing is your brain's interpretation of it. And this interpretation is shaped by countless factors: your past experiences, your culture, your emotions. The reality you see is a personal version of the world, not an objective one. What does that say about the true nature of existence? If we cannot trust our senses to show us the truth, what can we trust? What does it mean when the very tools we use to experience the world are faulty? Our minds are too limited to understand the vastness of existence. Now, consider the vastness of the universe. Scientists tell us that the observable universe is about 93 billion light-years across, and yet this is only the part of the universe we can see. Beyond that, there's an uncharted expanse, an infinite region that may contain more galaxies, stars, and planets than we can possibly imagine. But here's the problem. Our minds cannot even fathom this scale. We can grasp numbers, yes, but we cannot truly understand the vastness of what they represent. To comprehend such an enormity would be like trying to imagine the concept of infinity itself. Infinity, as a concept, is beyond human comprehension. We can think about it abstractly, but it has no real, concrete equivalent in our experience. Think about a single human lifetime. The longest anyone has lived is around 120 years. In comparison, the universe is billions of years old. And yet, here we are, trying to comprehend it. Our perception of time is limited by our biology. The way we experience time is linear: past, present, future. But what if time itself isn't linear at all? What if time is just another illusion? This idea is echoed by Albert Einstein, who challenged the traditional understanding of time with his theory of relativity. Time, he proposed, could stretch, bend, and warp depending on speed and gravity. The idea that time isn't fixed or constant undermines everything we know about reality. If time is fluid, then what else about reality is fluid? The deeper we go, the more we realize how little we know. The more we try to understand reality, the more we seem to uncover questions that have no easy answers. Quantum physics has shown us that the fabric of reality is not as solid as it appears. Subatomic particles behave in strange, unpredictable ways that seem to defy the laws of classical physics. And the deeper we delve into the mysteries of the quantum world, the less certain we become about the nature of reality itself. One of the most famous paradoxes in quantum mechanics is the wave-particle duality. It shows that particles like electrons can behave both like particles and like waves. They can exist in multiple states at once, in what's called a superposition. This idea is so mind-bending that it challenges our very understanding of existence. To make matters even more perplexing, Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle tells us that we can never know both the position and velocity of a particle with perfect precision. The more accurately we measure one, the less accurately we can measure the other. This fundamental limit to knowledge suggests that the universe has an inherent level of uncertainty, a built-in mystery that we can never fully penetrate. So, what does that mean about our understanding of reality? The more we look, the more we realize that the deeper we go, the more we uncover layers of uncertainty and paradox. Reality itself is constructed on paradoxes, ideas that contradict each other yet somehow coexist. We cannot even say for sure what the true nature of reality is, let alone why it exists. Reality might be unknowable, and perhaps we are not meant to know it. The more we uncover, the more we begin to question the value of knowing at all. What if the truth of existence is something that humans are not meant to understand? What if the very reason for our existence is not to comprehend the universe, but to experience it as it is, without fully understanding it? Philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard have suggested that there is a fundamental mystery to life, one that can never be fully solved. For Kierkegaard, the essence of existence was not in the search for answers, but in the embrace of life's inherent uncertainty. Perhaps the most meaningful part of being human is not in understanding the universe, but in accepting that we can never understand it fully. This leaves us in a dark, unsettling place. If reality is beyond our understanding, then what is the point of our search for truth? Are we doomed to chase after something that will always be just beyond our grasp? The mind is trapped in a prison of its own creation. Ultimately, this brings us back to the mind. It is the tool we use to navigate the world, yet it is also the very thing that keeps us trapped within an incomplete version of reality. Our minds are limited by the constraints of biology, perception, and understanding. We cannot escape these limitations. But perhaps the prison of our minds is not a trap at all. Perhaps it is simply the nature of existence itself. We are creatures born to perceive the world in certain ways, and those ways may never reveal the whole truth. In this sense, the search for truth, the search to understand the nature of reality, may be a search that leads us only deeper into uncertainty. We may never find the answers we are looking for, but perhaps it is the very quest for knowledge that defines us as human. So, does it matter if we can't understand reality? Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. Perhaps the true meaning of life isn't found in answers, but in questions. Perhaps it's found in the way we engage with the mystery of existence. After all, even if we cannot comprehend the true nature of reality, we are still experiencing it. Every moment you live, every feeling you have, every thought you think, these are part of the reality you know, even if they aren't the whole truth. What does it mean to live in a world where reality is unknowable? Maybe it means learning to accept that we can never fully understand the world. But just because we cannot know it doesn't mean we can't live it. In fact, perhaps the greatest gift of all is learning to exist in a world full of uncertainty, and finding meaning in the very act of questioning. Reality may not be what you think it is, but you are still here, asking, feeling, living, and perhaps, in the end, that's enough. What if everything you do, every decision you make, isn't truly your choice? You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is decide what to wear. You think, today, I'll wear the blue shirt. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what if that decision wasn't truly your own? What if the choice you think you're making is simply the result of chemical reactions in your brain, the culmination of years of conditioning and external influences? We tell ourselves that we have free will, the power to make decisions, to control our actions, to choose who we become. But what if that belief is a comforting illusion? What if the freedom we think we possess is nothing more than an elaborate trick our minds play on us? One of the most unsettling aspects of free will is the realization that your decisions might not be your own. Determinism, the philosophical idea that everything in the universe is determined by prior causes, challenges the very notion of free will. If everything that happens is a result of cause and effect, if every action, every thought, and every decision you make can be traced back to a cause, then can it really be said that you are free to choose? Consider the neuroscience of decision-making. Studies have shown that the brain starts preparing to make a decision before you are consciously aware of it. In other words, the brain has already decided what you're going to do, long before you think you've made the choice. Benjamin Libet, in his famous experiment, showed that brain activity associated with a decision occurs several hundred milliseconds before the person consciously becomes aware of making the choice. What does it mean to be free? Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, argued that freedom is about creating your essence through actions. asserting that we are free to choose our identity and our path. But even Sartre's idea of freedom has its limits. If your decisions are shaped by everything that has happened to you, your upbringing, your environment, your biology, how free can you truly be? You were born into a world with pre-existing conditions. Your genes, your culture, your family's values, these are all powerful influences shaping who you become. And your choices are, at best, a reflection of these influences, filtered through the lens of your experiences and desires. You didn't choose to be born. You didn't choose your family. You didn't choose your environment. So how can you claim to be free if every aspect of who you are is a result of forces beyond your control? You might believe that you make decisions independently, but even the act of choosing is shaped by your previous choices and experiences. You're trapped in a feedback loop, a cycle that continually reinforces itself. The belief that we have free will is a comforting fiction that allows us to feel like we have control over our lives. But is that really true? The universe might not have room for free will. Even beyond the biological and psychological factors that shape us, there's the problem of the universe itself. Modern science, particularly in physics, suggests that the universe operates according to fixed laws. Laws of nature that govern everything from the motion of planets to the behavior of subatomic particles. If the universe is governed by these laws, then the idea of free will seems to conflict with the very nature of existence. Take quantum mechanics, for instance. At the quantum level, particles behave in strange and unpredictable ways. Some physicists argue that the randomness of quantum events could be a source of true freedom. But that's not the same as free will. Randomness is not the same as choice. If your decisions are the result of chance, of randomness, then they are no more within your control than the outcome of a dice roll. You're not free. You're just at the mercy of probabilities. One of the most difficult truths about the illusion of free will is that the more you try to control your life, the more you realize that you cannot. We live in a world that constantly reinforces the idea that we are in control. We're told to take responsibility for our actions, to make our own choices, to shape our futures. But when we take a closer look, we realize how little control we really have. We plan, we work hard, we make decisions. Yet, so many of the things we strive for are out of our hands. A job interview that doesn't go as expected, a relationship that falls apart for no clear reason, a medical condition that arrives unexpectedly. These are all moments where our illusion of control shatters. Here's the darkest thought. What if free will isn't just an illusion, but a cosmic joke played on us by the universe? What if the very idea of free will exists to make us believe that we have control over our lives, when in fact, we're just pawns in a larger game? Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher, argued that humans are not as free as we like to think. Instead, we are driven by forces beyond our control. Our desires, our instincts, our drives. These forces, he claimed, determine everything we do. We are nothing more than puppets, controlled by invisible strings that we can't see or understand. The idea of free will, Schopenhauer suggested, is just a comforting illusion designed to keep us from recognizing our true helplessness. If this is true, then free will might not be a gift, but a curse. It might be the cruelest lie we tell ourselves to make life feel meaningful, to give us the illusion that we have some control over our fate. But what if that belief, that illusion, is all we have? In the end, Maybe it doesn't matter. If free will is an illusion, then does it even matter? Does it change anything? Albert Einstein famously said, "The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it." If we truly don't have free will, should we even bother trying to change anything? If our lives are determined by forces beyond our control, what's the point of effort, of striving, of fighting for what we want? But there's a paradox here. Even if free will is an illusion, the act of believing in it has real consequences. If you think you're making choices, if you believe you have control, then you will act accordingly. And in doing so, you will shape your life, even if the choices you make aren't really yours to begin with. Ultimately, the question isn't whether free will exists or not. The question is, how will you live knowing that you may never truly have the freedom you think you do? What if everything you know, everything you've ever known, isn't real? You look around and see the world, hear the sounds of life, feel the weight of your body and think, this is real. But what if it's not? What if reality is nothing more than an elaborate construct, a fleeting illusion designed to make us believe that the world is solid, permanent, and tangible? If you truly sit with this idea, you realize just how unsettling it is. Reality itself may not exist at all. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for your existence? And what if you don't exist in the way you think you do? What if the world you experience is merely a projection? Think about the world around you. The colors, the sounds, the sensations of touch. You experience these things through your senses, and you believe that they are real, that they are direct reflections of the external world. But are they? Modern science tells us that our senses are imperfect. What we see isn't really what's out there. It's a filtered version of reality, a projection that our brain constructs based on the data it receives. The color you see when you look at a red apple isn't the color of the apple itself. It's how your brain interprets the wavelengths of light that are reflected off its surface. So, if our senses cannot even be trusted to accurately reflect the external world, how can we be certain that the reality we experience is genuine? What if the world we see, hear, and touch is nothing more than a simulation? What if everything you know is simply a mind trick, a hologram created by your own brain to make sense of the chaos of existence? What if you are not who you think you are? You identify yourself by your thoughts, your memories, your experiences. You are you because of everything you have lived through, everything you have learned, everything you have become. But who is the you that you're identifying? The idea of the self, the I, has been called into question by thinkers throughout history. René Descartes famously said, "Cogito, ergo sum." I think, therefore I am. But Descartes himself had doubts about this. He questioned whether the self, the I, could even be trusted. What if the you experience in your mind is a mere illusion? What if there is no permanent self, no true essence of you that persists from one moment to the next? Buddhism teaches that the self is nothing but an illusion. It's a fleeting collection of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that arise and pass away. You are not a fixed entity. You are a process, a temporary collection of experiences and sensations that seem to coalesce into a self. In reality, the you think you are is just a figment of your mind. This idea is deeply unsettling, for it means that you are not as real as you believe yourself to be. The you that exists right now, this moment, is merely a passing illusion, a momentary configuration of consciousness, and just as quickly as it arises, it fades. The you that you hold so dearly may not even exist at all. What if everything you think is true is actually a lie? What do you believe about the world? You believe the earth is round, that gravity pulls you toward the ground, that time flows in a straight line. You believe that you live in a world of solid objects and fixed laws. But what if all of these beliefs are wrong? Quantum mechanics, The science that governs the smallest particles in the universe suggests that the rules of the universe are far stranger than we can comprehend. At the quantum level, particles don't behave in predictable ways. They don't follow strict rules. They exist in multiple states at once, and their very existence depends on observation. This means that the reality we experience at the macroscopic level, the world of solid objects and continuous time, may be nothing more than a vast illusion. What we see and experience every day is simply the classical version of reality, an approximation that our brains create to make sense of the quantum chaos that lies beneath. Everything you think you know about the world, everything you take for granted, may be a construct, a lie created by your senses to keep you from experiencing the true chaos beneath the surface. What if the universe doesn't care about you? You live in a universe that is vast, uncaring, and indifferent. The stars burn in the sky, galaxies spin in the void, and the laws of physics govern everything in existence. But none of it has anything to do with you. You are a fleeting, temporary part of this universe, a speck in the vast, unfeeling expanse of time and space. The anthropic principle states that the universe seems fine-tuned for life, but this doesn't mean that the universe has any special interest in life or in you. The universe simply is. Life, consciousness, existence. They're all products of random processes in a universe that operates according to impersonal laws. Your existence doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and yet you cling to the belief that it does. You search for meaning, for purpose, for significance. But what if the universe doesn't care? The idea that the universe is indifferent is hard to stomach. It's uncomfortable to think that all of your hopes, dreams, and fears are ultimately insignificant in the face of the cold, impersonal universe. You might be a fleeting moment in the cosmic timeline, a tiny blip that will be forgotten long before the universe reaches its end. And yet, somehow, you still believe in the importance of your existence. What if you're living in a simulation? The idea that our reality might be a simulation has moved from science fiction into serious philosophical discussion. If we can create increasingly realistic simulations of life, why wouldn't a far more advanced civilization have created one? The simulation hypothesis, proposed by philosopher Nick Bostrom, argues that it's far more likely that we're living in a simulation than in an actual, physical reality. What would it mean to live in a simulation? If our reality is just a set of programmed experiences, then what does that say about our existence? Are we just lines of code? Are experiences nothing more than the flicker of an artificial world? Are the relationships you form, the choices you make, and the life you live nothing more than a simulation created by someone or something else? This idea is chilling because it means that your existence and the reality you experience may not be real at all. Everything you believe about the world, everything you experience, could be an illusion created by forces beyond your control. What if there's no out there at all? One of the most fundamental assumptions we make is that the world exists out there, independent of us. We believe that the world around us is real, that it exists whether we're there to perceive it or not. But what if that isn't true? What if there is no out there at all? Philosophers like George Berkeley argued that reality is shaped by perception. He famously said, "To be is to be perceived." This means that without an observer, the world doesn't truly exist. If no one is there to experience it, does it have any existence at all? Could it be that reality only exists because we are here to witness it? The world, the universe, and everything in it may only exist as long as there is someone to perceive it. If this is true, then everything you know about the world is a construct of your own perception. The world doesn't exist independently of you. It exists only because you are there to experience it. What if you are just a dream? You wake up every day, you live your life, you experience the world, and you believe that you are real. But what if you aren't? What if all of this, the world, your life, your thoughts, is just a dream, a figment of someone or something else's imagination? What if you are nothing but a fleeting thought, a dream that will fade away as soon as it's over? The idea that we are living in a dream isn't a new one. Plato's allegory of the cave suggests that the reality we see is nothing more than shadows on the wall, illusions created by our perceptions. And Descartes famously doubted everything except for the fact that he was thinking, "I think, therefore I am." But what if even that isn't real? What if you aren't real, and the reality you experience is simply a dream? This thought challenges everything we know about existence. If we are merely a dream, then nothing we do truly matters. And yet, somehow, here we are, believing in our own reality, holding on to the illusion of existence. And in the end, what does it matter? If reality doesn't exist, and if you don't really exist, what does it matter? Perhaps the real question isn't whether reality is real or not. Perhaps it's whether we can find meaning in this fragile, fleeting illusion. If everything is an illusion, then perhaps the only truth is the one we create for ourselves. In the end, you may not have control over what is real, but you have control over how you experience it. And if you can accept the impermanence, the illusion, the uncertainty, you might just find peace in the chaos of existence. What if the universe isn't a place of harmony, but a complex machine that preys on you? We often think of the universe as a vast, majestic expanse, full of beauty and wonder. But what if this view is nothing more than a comforting illusion? What if, instead of an elegant cosmic dance, the universe is more like a predatory algorithm, one that exploits your every weakness, your every vulnerability, in a relentless pursuit of its own goals? What if existence itself is a system designed to feed off your energy? The universe doesn't care about your happiness. It doesn't care about your dreams or your aspirations. The vast cosmic system we live in, from the microscopic processes within our cells to the largest cosmic forces that shape galaxies, operates like a vast, indifferent machine. The laws of physics, the rules of nature, they aren't here to ensure your success or survival. They're just mechanisms in place to perpetuate existence itself. And in that system, you, as an individual, are expendable. In a way, the universe is a predator, constantly hunting for new fuel to sustain its endless processes. You are merely one of countless creatures that have emerged on the long, winding path of evolutionary algorithms. Your body is a biological machine, a collection of atoms and cells, just like the trees, the oceans, the stars, merely a temporary form in an ever-moving cosmic cycle. What do we gain from this realization? Perhaps a deeper understanding of how fragile and inconsequential our lives really are. In the grand scheme of things, we are not the center of the universe. We are a part of its never-ending cycle, a piece of energy that is consumed, transformed, and eventually discarded, like a cog in a machine. What if the very nature of life is just to perpetuate itself, no matter the cost? At the heart of life, there lies an imperative: survival. Evolution doesn't care about beauty. It doesn't care about meaning. It cares about replication. It cares about continuation. It's a harsh truth, but one that Darwin's theory of natural selection makes clear. Organisms exist because they reproduce. Those that don't are left behind, forgotten in the cold sweep of time. Life is a process designed to feed on itself. One species consumes another, constantly reshaping the environment for its own needs. This process of self-preservation is not driven by any higher moral purpose. It's just an algorithm, a deeply selfish one, set on ensuring that life continues, even if it means chaos and destruction along the way. Just think about the harshness of it. What are we really here for? To reproduce, to survive, and to ensure that the machine of life keeps running. Whether it's through the destruction of other life forms or the consumption of resources, this system demands sacrifice, and we are part of that sacrifice. What if the mind, too, is just another predatory algorithm? If you think about the mind, you realize that it is also driven by a simple algorithm: survival. Your thoughts, your desires, your emotions, they aren't random or free. They are shaped by your need to survive and reproduce. You chase after success, love, and safety, not because you choose to, but because your brain is programmed to desire them, to avoid danger, and to reproduce. Philosopher Daniel Dennett has suggested that the mind can be understood as a system of competing algorithms, each trying to hijack your attention and resources. The conscious you, the self, is the illusion of control, just a byproduct of these competing forces within your brain, all trying to ensure your survival. Think about it. Everything you experience, the things you think you control, the choices you make, the desires you pursue, may simply be the product of your brain's self-preserving algorithms. They push you to act in certain ways, to make decisions that will ensure your genetic legacy is passed on. Even the illusion of free will may simply be a feature of a system built to trick you into making those choices without realizing you're being played by a predatory process. What if you are already trapped in a feedback loop you can never escape? The universe operates on systems of feedback loops, small, recursive patterns that self-perpetuate. The process of life, growth, and decay is one giant feedback loop, constantly refining itself to ensure its survival. But what if your life, too, is part of a feedback loop, a predatory algorithm that traps you into repeating patterns endlessly? You may think you're moving forward, making choices, living your life. But consider this. Are you? Or are you simply cycling through the same struggles over and over, unable to break free? Whether it's chasing validation, escaping fear, seeking purpose, or experiencing pain, we often find ourselves stuck in patterns we cannot escape. In Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence, he proposed a terrifying idea: that the universe and your existence may be doomed to repeat itself forever. Every thought, every decision, every suffering could come back again, eternally. Imagine existing in this endless loop, unable to change, unable to break free. What if this isn't a metaphysical concept at all? What if the universe's predatory algorithm has already ensnared you? You live, you die, and you are recycled, your struggles eternally programmed into the system. What if the universe doesn't have a meaning, because it was never designed to? One of the most comforting ideas we tell ourselves is that the universe has meaning, that there's a purpose to our existence, a grand plan, a cosmic reason we're here. But what if this is nothing more than wishful thinking? The universe, as we know it, doesn't have a grand designer or a master plan. It simply is. The laws of physics exist not because they were designed to create a beautiful, meaningful life, but because they are the result of blind, unthinking processes. The universe isn't here to serve you, and it's not here to make sense. Perhaps this is the most unsettling truth of all. Meaning doesn't exist, at least not in the way we wish it did. We've been programmed to search for patterns, to look for meaning in the chaos, but the universe itself remains silent, indifferent, a vast expanse of energy and matter with no inherent purpose or direction. We are just temporary blips in this indifferent system. What if your life is just an experiment in a cosmic algorithm? It's uncomfortable to think about, but what if the universe doesn't care about the individual? What if your life, your choices, your thoughts are nothing but data points in a larger experiment? Just as a programmer tests algorithms in a simulation, perhaps your existence is just part of a cosmic test, a long-running experiment with no end goal but self-perpetuation. The universe could be learning, evolving, iterating on itself. Perhaps your struggles, your triumphs, your very consciousness are part of that data collection. Your decisions may not be your own. They might be programmed by forces larger than you can comprehend. You think you are living a life of free will, but what if that too is a part of the design? The universe is a machine, and you are just one of its experiments, played out in real time. What if you are nothing more than the sum of your algorithms? At the deepest level, you may not be a soul or a unique individual at all. Perhaps you are just patterns, a series of pre-programmed responses to environmental stimuli. an algorithm designed by the laws of physics and biology. Your consciousness, your self-awareness, your sense of identity, they might be nothing more than an illusion, a complex simulation created by the algorithms running inside your brain. Think about it. If you break it down to its simplest form, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, they all follow predictable patterns. The more we learn about the brain and its processes, the clearer it becomes. We are just highly advanced machines. We think we are alive, but in reality, we are just following the instructions coded into our biology by the universe's algorithms. In the end, what happens when the algorithm is finished with you? If the universe operates like a predatory algorithm, always consuming, always recycling, what happens when it has taken everything it needs from you? At some point, the algorithm may no longer need your input. It will simply move on, resetting and reprogramming itself for the next cycle. You will fade away, your existence reduced to nothing but data lost in the cosmic noise, your struggles and triumphs forgotten, replaced by newer, more efficient patterns. You'll be consumed by the very machine you were once part of, recycled and discarded like everything else. The question then becomes, how do you live in a universe that doesn't care if you live or die? How do you make meaning when everything you do is just part of an endless algorithm? Maybe, in the end, you have to accept that the meaning you seek was never there to begin with. What if the universe is a riddle that no one will ever solve? The mysteries of the universe loom before us, vast and terrifying in their complexity. We look out into the endless void of space, and we're confronted not with answers, but with questions. Questions that seem to grow larger the more we learn. These unsolved mysteries are not just intellectual challenges. They are existential confrontations, reminders that we are tiny and inconsequential in the grand scheme of the cosmos. What if we will never truly understand the nature of reality? Every discovery we make seems to unravel more layers of confusion. The deeper we dig, the more elusive the answers become. We thought we understood the laws of physics, but then quantum mechanics emerged, revealing a world of uncertainty and strangeness where the rules we thought governed reality break down. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle tells us that, at the deepest level, we cannot know both the position and velocity of a particle at the same time. This fundamental truth shakes the foundation of everything we thought we understood. And then there's dark matter, a substance we can't see but know is there because of the gravitational effects it exerts. It's like a shadow that haunts the universe, hiding just out of reach, reminding us that no matter how much we know, there will always be something we don't. What if we are forever trapped inside our own perception, unable to see the universe as it truly is? The hard problem of consciousness, as coined by philosopher David Chalmers, is the question of why and how subjective experiences arise. We know the brain processes information, but why does it feel like anything at all to be aware of this information? Why does consciousness feel so real, so vivid, yet so mysterious? What if the nature of reality is hidden behind the walls of our own perception, and no matter how advanced we become, we can never escape this limitation? Maybe the universe is so much more than we can ever comprehend, and our minds are trapped in a tiny corner of it, forever unable to grasp its full depth. What if the universe itself is a grand illusion? In the 18th century, Immanuel Kant suggested that we could never know the world as it truly is. What we experience, he argued, is merely a phenomenon, a filtered version of reality shaped by our senses and cognitive limitations. The thing in itself, the true nature of the universe, is beyond our grasp. We're not looking at the universe directly, we're looking at it through a lens distorted by our minds. What if everything we see, everything we experience is just a construct, an illusion we've been trapped in for as long as we can remember? Perhaps the truth is not just beyond our understanding, but fundamentally unknowable, and the more we search, the more we're led astray. What if we are insignificant in the face of an indifferent universe? Think about the vastness of the cosmos. There are billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, many with their own planets. The scale is mind-boggling, but more terrifying still is the thought that our existence might be utterly insignificant in this grand scheme. We live on a tiny speck of dust, revolving around an average star in an insignificant corner of the universe. Despite all our knowledge, all our accomplishments, we are nothing more than fleeting blips in the grand timeline of existence. Our search for meaning and understanding might be an exercise in cosmic futility, an effort to impose order on a universe that could not care less. What if the universe is indifferent to our quest for meaning? The Fermi paradox stares us in the face. The question of why, in a universe so vast, we have yet to encounter any signs of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Where are they? Are we alone? Or are we simply too insignificant for the universe to even notice? The paradox suggests that, despite the mathematical probability of alien civilizations, we have not made contact with any. It's as though the universe has created a vast, empty stage for us to perform on, only to leave the audience absent. We ask ourselves, are we truly alone, or is there simply no one out there who cares to interact with us? What if the very laws of physics are not universal, but temporary? We like to think that the laws of physics are eternal, that gravity, electromagnetic forces, and thermodynamics are unchanging, universal truths that govern everything, everywhere. But what if these laws were just temporary, local conditions, phenomena that exist only in our corner of the universe? Consider the multiverse theory, which proposes that there are an infinite number of universes, each with its own set of physical laws. What if our universe is just one of many, and the laws that govern it are just a random selection, destined to break down or change over time? We may be living in a universe where the laws of physics will one day be nothing more than a memory, forgotten by the ever-evolving chaos of existence. What if time itself is a lie? Time is a concept we take for granted. It's woven into the fabric of our lives, shaping everything we do. But what if time isn't as real as we think? What if it's a construct, an illusion created by the way we experience the world? According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time is not absolute. It bends and warps depending on the speed and gravity around you. But what if even this understanding is incomplete? What if time itself is just a byproduct of our limited perception, a feature of our consciousness rather than a fundamental aspect of reality? We experience time as linear, but is that just a product of how our brains are wired? What if the future, present, and past are just illusions, all happening at once in some hidden dimension that we are unable to access? What if everything we think we know is wrong? We pride ourselves on our understanding of the universe. We've created maps of the stars, uncovered the mysteries of the atom, and even sent probes into the far reaches of space. But what if our understanding is incomplete, our knowledge shallow, and our assumptions flawed? What if everything we know, every theory, every principle, is just an approximation, a theory that will one day be overturned by new discoveries, new ways of seeing the world? The greatest scientists throughout history have been humbled by the realization that much of what they believed to be true turned out to be false. Galileo, Newton, and Einstein all faced moments where their deepest convictions were shattered. Perhaps this will be our fate as well, to look back on our current understanding and see it for what it is, a fleeting and ultimately mistaken glimpse of a universe far more complex than we could ever imagine. What if we are simply unable to grasp the truth of the universe? No matter how much we learn, no matter how much we explore, the truth of the universe might always be out of reach. It's possible that the mysteries we face are not meant to be solved, not because we aren't trying hard enough, but because the universe is inherently unknowable. We are trapped within our own limitations, confined by our senses, our brains, our understanding. Perhaps the truth is so vast, so incomprehensible, that we simply cannot perceive it. No matter how much time passes, we may always be left searching for answers in a universe that refuses to give them. And in this search, we must ask ourselves, is the quest for knowledge a journey toward truth, or is it just an endless chase after shadows? What if the self you think you know isn't real at all? You wake up every day, walk through your life, and act as though you are a person with a fixed identity. You believe in your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, and you assume that you are the one in control. But what if none of this is true? What if you are not a stable, unified self, but just a fleeting collection of thoughts and sensations, constantly shifting and slipping through your grasp? What if your sense of self is nothing more than an illusion? The philosopher David Hume famously argued that the self does not exist in any tangible, permanent form. Instead, it's an ever-changing bundle of perceptions. He wrote, "When I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception or other. I never can catch myself at any time without a perception, and never can observe anything but the perception." According to Hume, the self is not a singular, stable entity, but a collection of experiences that we constantly reassemble in our minds, creating the illusion of continuity. Think about it. Every thought you have, every decision you make is not based on a stable self, but on fleeting perceptions that you string together to create a coherent narrative. The you that you identify with is simply an ever-shifting collection of moments, never truly grounded in anything solid. What if you don't control your actions at all? Imagine, for a moment, that the idea of free will is just another comforting illusion. Neuroscience has demonstrated that the brain makes decisions before we are consciously aware of them. The moment you believe you've made a decision, your brain has already set it in motion, long before your conscious mind becomes aware of it. Benjamin Libet's experiments showed that electrical impulses in the brain precede the conscious awareness of a decision, suggesting that your sense of choice is merely the illusion of control. What does this mean for your understanding of self? If you are not in control of your thoughts or actions, then who or what is pulling the strings? Are you nothing more than a puppet, with your brain as the hidden hand manipulating you from behind the scenes? What if your memories are not yours to claim? You trust your memories. They are your anchors, the fragments of a past that shape who you are. But what if memories aren't reliable at all? What if they are fabrications, altered by your brain with every recollection, shaped by external forces and internal desires? Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus has shown how easy it is to implant false memories in someone's mind. People can remember entire events that never actually happened, proving that our memories are not as secure as we believe. The terrifying possibility is that your entire personal history, what you think defines you, your sense of identity, could be a constructed narrative. What does it mean to be yourself if the very foundation of who you are is built on shifting sands of unreliable recollections? What if you are just a passenger in your own life? What if the self is not the captain of the ship, but merely a passenger along for the ride? Sigmund Freud proposed that much of human behavior is driven by unconscious desires and impulses, forces that we are not even aware of. The things you think you want, the choices you think you make, they may not be yours at all. They are driven by biological instincts, social conditioning, and the unconscious mind. What if, instead of controlling your life, you are merely reacting to these deep-rooted forces, moving through life like an actor on a stage, unaware of the script you are following? The fear, then, is this: you are not the architect of your fate. You are just a participant in a drama you did not write, playing a part that was assigned to you long before you were aware of it. What if you can never truly know who you are? Consider the existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre, who argued that existence precedes essence. In other words, we are born without any inherent identity. We are not born with a self waiting to be discovered. We are born as blank slates, constantly reshaping who we are through our choices, our actions, and our relationships. There is no true you to discover, because you are constantly in the process of becoming, evolving, and changing. The terrifying truth is that your entire life may be a search for an identity that doesn't exist. As you make choices and experience life, you create an ever-shifting image of who you are. There is no fixed essence to you, only a collection of experiences that never quite cohere. You are never fully yourself. You are always becoming, always searching for something you can never fully grasp. What if your mind is playing tricks on you, shaping your reality? The mind is a master illusionist. It creates the world you experience. It tells you what is real and what is imagined, but how can you trust it? Studies in cognitive psychology have shown that the human brain constantly fills in gaps in your perception, creating a reality that fits with its preconceived ideas. You think you are seeing the world clearly, but in reality, your mind is filtering, distorting, and even fabricating the experience to fit its narrative. This isn't just a question of perception. It's a question of identity. If the brain is constantly tricking you into believing certain things, can you truly trust your own understanding of who you are? Maybe the self you experience is nothing more than a complex illusion shaped by forces beyond your control, with no solid foundation beneath it. What if your self-awareness is a curse, not a gift? Humans are unique in their ability to reflect on their own existence, to be aware of themselves and their place in the universe. But what if this self-awareness is a curse rather than a blessing? The existentialists argued that the ability to reflect on one's own existence inevitably leads to a sense of alienation and despair. Martin Heidegger called it being toward death, the awareness that we are finite, that our time is limited, and that, ultimately, we are alone in the universe. The more you think about yourself, the more you become aware of how fragile and insignificant you truly are. The more you reflect on your place in the cosmos, the more you realize that you are a fleeting, impermanent blip, caught in a vast and indifferent universe. Is self-awareness truly a gift, or is it simply a burden that exposes the emptiness of existence? What if there is no self at all? Perhaps the most unsettling idea is that the self is nothing more than a convenient fiction. Buddhist philosophy teaches that the notion of a permanent, unchanging self is an illusion, what they call anatta, no self. According to this view, the self is not a unified entity, but a collection of constantly changing physical and mental processes. There is no solid you, no permanent identity, only a flow of experiences, sensations, and thoughts that arise and pass away. If this is true, then everything you think you are, the person you see in the mirror, the identity you cling to, your memories and experiences, is just an illusion. The self is not a fixed reality, but a shifting, impermanent collection of experiences that disappear as quickly as they arise. What if you are already dead and just don't know it? In the end, you must ask yourself, what is the self you are holding on to? What if the you experience is already a ghost, a memory of something that no longer exists, but still haunts the empty corridors of your mind? In a universe where identity is constantly in flux and perception is unreliable, who is it that is truly living? And who are you if everything you thought was real is just a fleeting shadow? What if the very fabric of reality is not what it seems? Every corner of our lives is built on assumptions that we take for granted because they are so deeply ingrained in our understanding of the universe. But what if everything we know about reality is a fragile, temporary construct? What if the laws we believe govern existence are about to unravel, exposing a far darker and more incomprehensible truth about the world we live in? What if the universe is nothing more than a simulation? The simulation hypothesis suggests that everything we know, everything we experience, is not real. We are living in a computer-generated simulation, created by a more advanced civilization, and everything we perceive as physical reality is nothing but a digital construct. This idea, popularized by philosopher Nick Bostrom, raises a terrifying question. If we are living in a simulation, then what is the nature of the world beyond? Are we truly experiencing anything at all? Or are we just artificial minds trapped in a virtual world? If this theory is true, then the very notion of reality is shattered, and we are left to question the authenticity of every thought, every moment, every interaction. Are we even real? What if time itself is a complete illusion? Time has always been our constant companion. We measure it, mark it, and live by it. But what if time, the one thing we assume is absolute, is not real at all? Einstein's theory of relativity shattered our perception of time, showing us that time is not a constant. It bends and warps with gravity and speed, and in extreme cases it can even come to a standstill. Now, imagine a theory like the block universe theory, which suggests that time doesn't actually flow at all. The past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like a giant block of existence, and what we perceive as the passage of time is just an illusion. If time is an illusion, then everything we experience, the idea of moving forward, growing older, learning from the past, loses its meaning. Are we just static beings living in a frozen moment of eternal now? What if the universe is truly a predatory algorithm? In the depths of modern cosmology, there lies a theory so terrifying it undermines everything we believe about our place in the universe. What if the universe, at its core, operates like a predatory algorithm, an endlessly evolving mechanism designed to exploit every living organism for its own purposes? Consider the anthropic principle, which argues that the universe seems to be finely tuned for life, suggesting that the laws of physics are set up perfectly to allow for our existence. But this creates a disturbing paradox. What if the universe's purpose is not to support life, but to use life to sustain itself? The ultimate existential question: are we just fuel in a cosmic machine, created not to thrive, but to serve some dark, unknown purpose? What if consciousness itself is just a byproduct of quantum phenomena? We've always assumed that consciousness arises from the brain, from the firing of neurons and the complex activity of the mind. But what if consciousness is something deeper, something that transcends the physical world entirely? The theory of quantum consciousness, proposed by Roger Penrose, suggests that consciousness might emerge from quantum processes within the brain, processes that go beyond traditional neuroscience. What if, as Penrose argues, consciousness is not localized within our brains, but rather emerges from the very fabric of the universe itself? If true, this would mean that consciousness is far more cosmic than we've ever imagined. And this raises a terrifying question. If our consciousness is a quantum phenomenon, could it transcend our physical bodies? Or could it collapse into nothingness when the universe itself collapses? What if we are completely alone in the universe, and the universe knows it? The Fermi paradox asks one of the most chilling questions we can ponder. If the universe is so vast, with billions of planets that could support life, why haven't we encountered any other intelligent civilizations? The paradox suggests that, despite the mathematical probability of extraterrestrial life, we have found no evidence of it. What if the reason we haven't encountered other life forms is because the universe is utterly indifferent to us? What if the silence of space isn't just a coincidence, but a reflection of the universe's cruel indifference? This isolation is more than just lonely, it's existentially suffocating. The horror of the Fermi paradox is that we may be the only sentient beings in the cosmos, alone in a vast, empty universe that has no need for us. What if the multiverse theory means there are infinite versions of you but none of them matter? The multiverse theory proposes that there are infinite parallel universes, each one slightly or dramatically different from the other. In this view, every choice you make spawns a new universe, creating a never-ending series of versions of you, each living a different life. This suggests that there is an infinite number of yous scattered across countless realities. At first, this may seem liberating, infinite possibilities. But what if it means that, in the end, nothing you do truly matters? If there are infinite versions of you, then which one is the real you? Does it even matter? Is there any significance to the life you're living if every choice you make is infinitely replicated in countless other realities? where other versions of you make different choices? You are just one of an infinite number of potential selves, each as fleeting and insignificant as the next. What if our universe is just one step in an endless loop of rebirths? What if this universe is not the first, but simply the latest in an endless series of rebirths? The theory of cyclical cosmology proposes that the universe undergoes an eternal cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Each cycle is born from the ashes of the previous one, and this process has been going on for eternity, with no beginning or end. The terrifying implication is that our entire existence may be just another iteration in an endless series of cosmic loops. If this is true, then our lives, our hopes, our existence may not be unique. Instead, we are trapped in an eternal recurrence, an endless loop of life, death, and rebirth. Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence would mean that we are living the same life over and over again, forever. How does that change your perception of existence? Are you living your life for the first time? Or is this just one more repetition of the same endless cycle? What if the laws of physics themselves are not universal, but transient? We assume that the laws of physics are universal, that they apply everywhere at all times. But what if this is a fundamental misunderstanding? What if the laws of physics, gravity, electromagnetism, thermodynamics are not eternal, universal principles, but transient phenomena that only exist in our corner of the universe? Imagine a universe where the laws of physics are not fixed, but constantly shifting and evolving. In this scenario, everything we know about reality is subject to change. The universe we understand today could be completely unrecognizable tomorrow, as the laws that govern it twist and warp beyond our comprehension. What if the universe is just a giant experiment, with no inherent rules, no stability, forever subject to the whims of an unknown force? What if our reality is simply one moment in an infinite chain of collapses? The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every decision, every event, creates a new branch in an infinite tree of realities. Every choice you make, every event in your life, spawns an infinite number of parallel universes. But what if the collapse of these worlds is a continual process? Every moment of your life might not be singular. It could be just one fragment of a larger cosmic pattern, constantly branching and collapsing into new timelines, new realities. Is your reality truly real, or just another collapsed version of an infinite series of possibilities? If we are merely one collapse among infinite others, then who are we, really? What is the nature of real existence if it's just part of an eternal cycle of collapse and rebirth? What if the answers we seek about the universe are impossible to understand? We look to the stars, we peer into the depths of space, and we try to piece together the fragments of existence. We believe that everything has an answer, that if we search long enough we will understand the great mysteries of the universe. But what if the truth is far darker than we imagine? What if the mysteries we face are simply too vast, too incomprehensible for our minds to grasp? What if some answers are meant to remain forever out of reach? What if the universe itself is a riddle that can never be solved? For centuries, humanity has tried to understand the origin of the universe. We look back in time to the Big Bang, the moment when everything began, and we ask, how did it happen? What came before? Yet, every answer seems to lead us to deeper questions. According to physicist Stephen Hawking, we may never truly understand the origin of the universe. The moment of the Big Bang is shrouded in such mystery that the laws of physics, as we know them, break down. What happened before? Why did anything exist at all? These are questions that may forever evade us. What if the origin of everything, the very beginning of time itself, is a mystery that cannot be solved? What if we are simply not equipped to comprehend the very nature of our own existence? What if dark matter is more than just an invisible substance? We know that dark matter exists. It accounts for most of the mass in the universe, but we have no idea what it is. Scientists have theorized about its nature for decades, but it continues to elude our understanding. What if dark matter is not just an invisible substance, but a key to understanding the very fabric of reality itself? Some physicists believe dark matter could be a completely new form of matter that behaves in ways we cannot even begin to imagine. But what if it's not just matter at all? What if dark matter is something far more alien, a force, a consciousness, something beyond our current understanding? What if the most significant aspect of the universe is hidden from us, not because it's invisible, but because it lies outside the boundaries of our minds? What if the true nature of consciousness is locked away, beyond the reaches of science? The mystery of consciousness, what it is, where it comes from, and how it arises, is one of the greatest unsolved puzzles in science. We have a basic understanding of how the brain functions, but the hard problem of consciousness, as philosopher David Chalmers calls it, remains unsolved. How does subjective experience arise from physical matter? How can something as intangible as consciousness emerge from the complex interactions of neurons and atoms? What if consciousness is not something that can be reduced to biology or physics? What if it is a fundamental aspect of reality itself, woven into the fabric of existence in a way we cannot yet perceive? We may never truly understand what consciousness is, or how it fits into the grand scheme of the universe. What if the answer to the question of consciousness is something too alien for our minds to even fathom? What if we are completely alone in the universe with no one else to share it with? The Fermi paradox asks one of the most haunting questions. If the universe is so vast, with billions of stars and planets, why haven't we encountered any other intelligent civilizations? The paradox suggests that despite the mathematical probability of alien life, we have found no evidence of it. What if, in the end, we are truly alone in the universe? What if we are the only conscious beings in a universe filled with empty space? The silence of space may not be just a cosmic coincidence. It could be a reflection of the universe's indifference, a reminder that life is a rare, fleeting accident in a vast and uncaring cosmos. If we are truly alone, what does that mean for us? Are we the exception in a cold, indifferent universe, or is the universe itself a monstrous void that simply doesn't care whether we exist? What if time itself is not as we perceive it? We live our lives as though time is a constant, a reliable thread that we follow from one moment to the next. But physicists like Albert Einstein have shown us that time is not as absolute as we think. In fact, time is not even a constant. It warps and bends in response to gravity and may even be different for each observer. The block universe theory proposes that time doesn't flow at all, but rather exists as a series of fixed moments. If this theory is true, then what we experience as the passage of time is merely an illusion. What if time isn't real at all, and we are simply trapped in a frozen present, unable to truly grasp the nature of our existence? If time is just an illusion, then what is left of our lives, our choices, and our fate? Are we nothing more than static beings, trapped in a moment that is both eternal and fleeting? What if the universe is cyclical, repeating itself in endless loops? The theory of cyclical cosmology suggests that the universe is not a one-time creation, but rather part of an infinite cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Every time the universe reaches the end of its life, it collapses in on itself and then rebounds, starting the cycle all over again. This idea implies that the universe we live in is just one of an infinite number of cycles, each one different, yet the same. If this theory is true, then the life we live, the choices we make, the things we experience, they may be meaningless in the grand scheme of things. Nothing we do matters because it will all be repeated, again and again, for eternity. The horror of the cyclical universe is that there is no end, no finality, only an endless repetition of the same moments, the same mistakes, and the same suffering. What if reality itself is an illusion, a projection of our minds? There is a theory in philosophy known as idealism, which suggests that reality is not made up of physical matter, but is instead a projection of our minds. In this view, everything we perceive, the world around us, the people we interact with, the objects we touch, is simply a mental construct. This idea goes back to philosophers like George Berkeley, who argued that existence itself depends on perception. In other words, if we stop perceiving the world, it ceases to exist. What if our entire understanding of reality is simply a projection of our minds, and the world we live in is nothing more than a dream, constantly changing, shifting, and slipping through our fingers? What if everything around us is nothing but a fleeting illusion, a simulation created by our own consciousness? What if the true nature of the universe is a mystery we can never understand? The more we uncover about the universe, the more questions arise. We peel back the layers of reality, only to find that the more we know, the more we realize we don't know. There are unsolved mysteries in physics, cosmology, and philosophy that seem so fundamental to our existence that we may never truly grasp them. What if the universe itself is a mystery that we can never solve? What if we are simply too limited in our understanding to comprehend the true nature of existence? In the end, maybe the universe doesn't care if we understand it. Maybe it was never meant to be understood. We might never know the truth because it lies beyond our comprehension, like a riddle too profound to be solved.